What did people do for entertainment before television? Anthony tells us those lucky enough to live along the canal were never at a loss for wondrous sights, day and night.
Imagine this passing your waterfront window. A massive 652-foot, 672-ton car carrier. Sights such as these never get old for those who live, play, and work along the Cape Cod Canal.
Very, very rarely is it dull here.
Says John Mikowitz, who operates the railroad bridge. He will tell you he has by far the best view of the canal.
I spend a great deal of time, minimum 40 hours a week here. It's my home away from home. All the whales, dolphins, you name it. If it swims in the ocean, it comes through the canal, and I get a front row seat to it at all times. I'm not that much of a train buff. You can hear the people out there screaming now, but it's a job to me to make this bridge work for them, and it's just what I do.
And when he does, it's quite the show. The Cape Flyer drew a crowd on its inaugural crossing in 2013. The first train from Boston in more than 50 years. Mikowitz may be so-so when it comes to trains, but not the bridge.
When it was first built, it was the largest vertical lift railroad bridge in the world, 544 feet long. The span weighs 2,200 tons, counterweights weigh 1,100 tons each. It's a very balanced machine. It costs less than $1 of electricity to run the bridge fully down and then back up. The way it was built, it's fascinating.
The canal of today is far from its origins 100 years ago.
It was an area of farms, small rail lines that went down to Buzzards Bay and then up to Sandwich. An architectural history.
Tim Orwig is an architectural historian and author of a book about the canal. The images are from Nina Heald Weber's collection, which she donated to Historic New England. It tells the story of August Belmont, a New York banker and grandson of naval hero Commodore Matthew Perry, and how he came to achieve what no one else was able to do.
Belmont had the capacity to take on really challenging situations. He was the one who built the first subway in New York City. The family had the farm here, and so he had that personal sort of stake with the area. And he also brought in really the best engineer in the business at that time, Parsons. And the two of them had worked on the New York subway. This was a high ridge that was between the headwaters of the Manamet and the Scusset rivers, but the main cutting was here.
Here today is Herring Run in Borndale. Belmont's canal was a private venture meant to be financed with tolls, but plagued with problems, it never paid off. Ultimately, the government took control.
What I loved was to see sort of the recreational history of the canal. The motor hotels, the tourist cabins, the dance halls. There was a lobster shack where they kept the lobsters in crates down in the canal. Ships going from New York to Boston. There'd be great crowds along the canal to watch them go, particularly the night run, where the ships are all lit up.
Beginning in 1928, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took over and re-engineered Belmont's waterway, making it wider, deeper, and safer. The original Bourne and Sagamore drawbridges were replaced. Today's are government issue. They are identical.
Buzzards Bay Control, roger.
There's always someone watching, says Marine Traffic Controller Brian Mulvey.
It's nonstop. Some of the shifts at night are busier than the day shifts as far as the large traffic goes. Tidal flow changes direction every 6 hours, and that, taken into account with wind, tide, to make the passage tricky.
After a damaging oil spill in 2003, a new protocol was instituted.
What we're looking at today is a recommended route for all of Buzzards Bay. The vessels have to check in earlier. They have to have an escort vessel while transiting Buzzards Bay.
There are rules.
A seaplane landed in the canal a few years back, which of course is against the regulations.
Break the rules and you're likely to meet patrol boat operator Kevin Galvin.
In the Code of Federal Regulations, there's actually a set of regulations specifically for the Cape Cod Canal, which includes a speed limit. You can't fish or swim or sail in the canal. We're here for the safety and security of the canal, not only the recreational vessels, but we also have the commercial vessels as well.
Now, the Cape isn't the only canal turning 100 this year. The Panama Canal was completed in 1914, and because the United States took over the job after a failed French effort, it's not surprising to learn that the bridge looks familiar. It's identical to the Bourne and Sagamore, government issued. The two canals differ in that the Panama has locks, the Cape does not. That's because of weather. The locks would freeze here and require costly maintenance. Before the canal, ships had a hard time getting around the Cape. Today, it's turtles.
If we could come up with some sort of easy pass system, that would be great, but the turtles don't use it.